Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Dirt 3. Let's keep going. So we have a knockout race here. Turns out last recording we looked at all the cars and not a lot of licenses here. Almost everything is Ford. I would say
You've been doing so
nearly,
well in head-to-head races recently.
that's an
No need to break that
exaggeration.
streak
I'd
now.
say somewhere around 45% of all the cars are Fords. And if I knew more about subsidiaries of Ford, cars under other licensed names, I would suspect that it's even more, that some of the other car companies are actually Ford under a different name. So there's no Alfa Romeos, I know that. There's I can't remember the other ones though, but it doesn't seem like there's any of the famous European supercar making things. And I don't know if that is because those cars just are frankly too fragile to go into rally car races, or if Codemasters, the creator of Dirt 3, just couldn't get the licenses. It is also a known fact that when you're making a racing car game, if you're going to model any damage on the car, you sometimes can't get the license from certain car companies. But the current way of getting around that is they've been able to say, well, if you're playing those specific cars, it just won't model damage. So, okay. And that works for me fine, particularly if they can still model the effects of damage in the more difficult settings. Or you can only play the special cars in single player and can't play them in the actual important Dirt Tour mode. And we're gonna do a knockout here, and then we're gonna end up doing a knockout in the smaller triangle. So it's gonna be 2 knockouts in a row. And I assume I'm not gonna unlock the final small triangle by doing this knockout race. This is interesting. We're at the smelter, and it's raining, and I'm getting a slightly different feel. I don't think we've done smelter races in the rain before. And that's kind of the weirdness is, even though there's only 5 or 6 tracks in this entire game, the varieties of, well, it's more like there's 5 or 6 locations, and then there's a bunch of different varieties or versions of tracks, but I don't recall ever driving in the rain here. I probably did. It's just I may very well have hit the point where I'm forgetting things. This may have been one of the very first races we did. We've done, according to autosave, over like 200, and that seems about right. This might simply be the point where my brain can no longer remember anymore. There really is no impact for driving through a building, or over a bridge, or under a bridge. On casual, it doesn't seem like you lose really any grip on the ground, and it doesn't seem like when you go through a building while it's raining, the dry ground that would be in that room, in that building, really makes you have more grip than the wet ground. In fact, all of the weather events don't really change anything except for the snow. The snow does feel a little bit more difficult to drive on. But this all may just be chalked up to casual mode too. And they're making a big deal of that building with the load screen there, and you really just drive through it, and that's it.
40 over bridge.
And this racetrack again has a lot of stuff on the left and right that is pushed really far back so that they don't have to animate too much. There is a lot of stuff that's up closer, like, and part of the racetrack, buildings and crowds and cranes and such, but way in the background there you see a bunch of back buildings that aren't really being animated.
80, medium left long, 40. Over bridge. Into medium right open.
See that smokestack over there, and all those buildings.
60, crest, jump.
And they've intentionally put it next to a river. Water effects can always be improved.
Over bridge.
Well, at least for these generations of
Easy right
games.
into building. Medium right on exit. Medium left tighten.
But oddly, if you, in comparison to The Witcher 3, which is the most visually
40. Medium
good-looking
right,
game
long.
I've played so far, the cars don't look any different than Witcher 3. The ground looks different. The ground could have more detailed texture and be more varied, for sure, because it doesn't actually look that great. But the cars themselves, being rounded off objects, being painted
Top
objects.
3! All this success is incredible.
Top 3 I got first. See, they don't even have the voice actors record different things for first, second, and third as far as responses. And yet they bothered to have the voice actors record different nicknames that they have only been used 6 times.
Final is waiting.
You're like an off-road monster who feeds on other drivers.
So we did that knockout, and we're trying to just get through all of these. I suppose this is the last one. Good. And then we'll have to deal with the other one. Take whatever car we can get to the fastest.
You must love the spotlight. You've been doing really well in head-to-head events recently. Let's keep it up.
Honestly, the 3 main screens that you have to go through in Dirt Rally, loading menus, you could get down to 1 easily. And I'll talk about it and point it out a little bit more when we get back to the main menu, but this game has way too many menus and way too many loading screens. And I assume this is a game that certainly feels like it was trying to run on a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360, and it had to do a lot of compromises and secret and tricks to hide loading screens and make it look smooth and run smooth, because you absolutely need that in a racing game. The last thing you want is lag, which is sad because we've seen this game lock up and crash a few times, and usually half the times it's crashed just in the menu, but we have seen it lock up once in the middle of a race. We have seen it lag once or twice in a race, and that's once or twice too many. If this game had fewer races, it's possible I wouldn't have seen any of them, but there's still a decent chance I would have seen at least one. And I have to keep standing up for my PC setup because I don't think there's anything wrong with my PC setup that would cause it to crash. And and I'm willing to forgive even 1 or 2 crashes in a game that's particularly long, and this game is particularly long, so I'm not saying this game is buggy and crashy inherently. You can get through 98% or 99% of all the races without a single hitch, or but I wonder if that was really the case when you were playing this on the 360 or the PlayStation 3. I bet this looks better on the PlayStation 3 than the 360, as many games often did look better. However, there was often much fewer games available for the PlayStation 3. And I also have to say, I don't think this game is really designed or works as good as it should with a controller. Now, I'm not saying go keyboard and mouse with this. What I'm saying is it feels like it was intentionally designed for a force feedback steering wheel, and I think that's really, if I was going to be snobbish, I think that's really the only way to play. If my YouTube channel became very popular, I think that would be a gadget I would treat myself with, is just like getting a steering wheel, getting a controller. It might also be a little bit quieter than pressing the controller. And I'm looking for a wired controller to replace the standard Xbox 360 gamepad that would be quieter and would work a little bit better and feel a little bit better in my hands. So I'm asking for a lot of different things, but quieter would be one of them. But because sometimes doing that gets picked up on the recording, if you can hear that. You can hear it now, probably. Now, keyboard and mouse that I have are even worse, and I'm also looking for a keyboard and mouse that would be really quiet. So one more lap and then we'll be done with this.
80. Under bridge. Easy left. Keep in. Easy right.
And again, I have to just, a little hint into how I say things when I'm criticizing it. I just repeat myself because the idea is reoccurring to my head, which is intentional. I'm not just rambling and raving lunatic. I'm actually intentionally saying the same thing over and over again because the idea has reoccurred to me, and in this instance the idea has really occurred to me how ridiculous it is that we can't have all the weather environments in every track. Why can't it be snowing? Particularly in this. It can be sunny, it can be evening, it can be dawn, it can be dusk, it can be midday, it can be rainy, it can be wet without rain, I think, on this track, but it can't be snowy. They don't have anything in any of the tracks for windy, which I feel is a totally missing out. The amount of rain never changes, so it's never a light drizzle or a heavy downpour. Even the amount of rain that's going on now would probably feel like a heavy downpour, going at very fast speeds. So we've got to do race 2 now.
80, medium left long. 40.
Even when it's sunny too, you could go sunnier. You could go sweltering heat. You could go bright as possible. You could go with the sun right in your eyes, making it difficult to drive, which is a real thing that happens when you drive. That's why cars have visors. And that's not in this game too. So windy as a condition doesn't exist. Extremely bright with the sun in the direction of your driving and in your eyes, not a condition, not a thing.
40 over bridge.
Extremely snowy and treacherous, slick, icy roads, not really a thing either. You actually face more diversity in driving in the real world than you do in this game.
Easy left. Medium right. Keep in.
Now, arguably, maybe some of those conditions just cause a rally race to be cancelled, but if you're gonna do a weather system, I want to see all the weather things, all the possibilities of weather. And I don't, at the very least, it wouldn't take too much to change the rain effect into snow. You don't have to put snow on the ground. You don't have to cover the whole place in snow. That would be kind of boring. And just feel like the Winter X Games track. But you could change the effect. You could make it look like snow. I would kind of like a Christmas theme one too. I'm not too big into the holidays or any holiday, but I think in general people enjoy Christmas, so if one of the tracks was set to happen around that time and they just put, like, did something silly, I would say do the tracks that where we're driving through the forest. See all those trees over there in the background? If all of those trees just by default had Christmas lights on them, and they put some red and green tinsel on all the edges, it would be kind of a funny thing to do and spice up the track a little bit without spending too much effort. And if you did something like that, you could use screenshots from that and post on your social media as you're developing Dirt 4 or Dirt 5 and say Merry Christmas and get some get some feedback and some free advertising out of it. That's about the only holiday I would say you probably need to do it, because it's about the only holiday you decorate for. If you're gonna go really crazy and do something above a Christmas theme on the tracks and cars, you would do a Halloween theme, and yeah, you could do that and dress it up in some spooky things. After that, you probably would do a Thanksgiving theme if you really want to try to do multiple holidays, and after Thanksgiving theme, you're kind of out ideas. You start going down to things like Valentine's Day. All of these could be very simplistic skins, and that's kind of it. And let's assume that those things actually are in this game, but they only unlock on those specific days. If that's the case, well then I'll never see it, because I'll be done playing this game, and most people won't be playing Dirt 3. That is an issue that happens in a lot of games. I think Minecraft, if you play it on December 25th, will say Happy Holidays or something at the menu. But that's just not the way to do it. I would prefer it just be an actual race that is intentionally themed that way.
Medium right long.
But let's say that's too much work.
Over bridge.
That they didn't have any more budget to do
Medium
any
right,
more
keep in.
animation.
Medium
Here's a
left
suggestion
long
that
onto
really
concrete.
doesn't require any
Easy right.
any
Onto
new
gravel,
animation.
40.
How about
Medium
a
right, very long.
decayed track? We know
60.
for a fact that
Easy left.
some of these
Medium right,
barriers
keep in.
will break and get knocked out of the way, and
Medium left
uh,
long.
if I crash into them, and they will get scuff marks and things like that. It wouldn't be hard at all to have somebody with an unbreakable car drive around the track in a development mode and just crash into everything. Just break it and have this huge mess and have a bunch of broken car parts all over the track. And then you could say, well, that's the track you've got to drive on. What's the purpose of having a race like that? Just to keep it interesting. That's the only real purpose. Here we go. Let's keep moving forward. Oh, I was going to speak for a moment, but we're already in the loading screen, so I don't know if I can actually back out here. But
You didn't put a single dent in the car last time. Now that's what I call clean driving. Keep it up.
well, I was gonna talk about the menu for a second here, but it's too late now. There's no backing out from this menu at all, which kind of implies that the team that was making the menus and the teams that was making the races didn't really work together that well. But that picture right there that we were looking at, that final menu where it says start, that should be the default menu from the second click of the game. So when you start the game, it says push start or enter to start. That is something that was required. I don't know if it's being required as much anymore by Xbox and PlayStation consoles. The idea is that it's in a track screen, that so if you have a console game playing in a store, it will attract people to come play it, and it immediately tells them and it immediately works. Also, before you press start, the game doesn't touch the hard drive at all, according to their specifications, like Xbox and PlayStations. So you can have a console that is completely missing a hard drive, and the game will work at least to that point. Which, okay, that doesn't really mean anything, though, because very few games are going to work the way they're intended. If you press start and it goes, oh, you don't have a hard drive, you can't save this game. But most games will still work in that state, usually. Maybe that too is changing, particularly since now the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 install everything to the hard drive. So it feels like more and more though the attract screen is going away, and that's your first button click. The second button click is you select, do you want to play in Dirt Tour, single player, do you want to play multiplayer, do you want to go to options, do you want to look at your stats, do you want to exit the game. And ideally, in what's missing from Dirt 3, there should be a continue and a new game, and there isn't. So if you actually wanted to make a new game, you have to go in the options and and probably delete your save file or change your profile, which actually that is the second click in this game, isn't it? Yeah, because you press start, then it says pick a profile, and that's the point where you have to select or make a new profile. So that's in the wrong place too, because it should just automatically load up the last used profile. And so then the third click, you're at the main.
Your fans will go nuts when they see that. Let's post it on YouTube.
And we'll see if we can get to the menu and talk about this for a second. Well, we have to do another race instead. So ideally there would just be a continue button that would just continue down a linear path in the dirt tour, and that's not here at all. There is no linear path in the dirt tour, even though there clearly is. And it should be, I would say I would put just a two-dimensional map, maybe a globe, on the down, and as you're moving through this long racetrack or path on the map, you would unlock a few side things that are the metal things, and then you would be able to skip a few things if you have enough points, and it would be the exact same number and order of races that you end up playing here anyways. It would just be in a better interface than the triangles. The triangles kind of look cool, and they're an interesting theme, but they're not practical. They're just a waste. This is the racetrack I was thinking of specifically for the Christmas tree theme. Like, imagine if all or even some of these trees were stranded in ornaments and lights. Wouldn't that look interesting, at least? Something slightly different than all the green. Heck, for this race, why not have a forest fire? It would be silly. It would be the same idea as outrunning a flood, but why not do it? Set all these things ablaze and then have a wall of flames following behind you. Put something interesting here. Are we done, or are we... It's hard to even tell. I bet we're not done. I bet we're just loading into another section. Yep. And they can't do too much with boats in a Rallycross game. But they sure do love to put us next to lakes and rivers, considering that. Water effects are overemphasized, I think, in games, as far as putting an entire lake next to it. Of course, I think this is also supposed to be Michigan, so that we may be driving around Lake Michigan. That would make sense. And that may just be the way the roads actually are. That's an interesting thought. If somebody told me that these racetracks are made from the real world, that they had a Google Maps car drive down these things and laser scan the exact length of the roads and every single bit of detail, and this is as close as to the real thing as possible, frankly, to me, as somebody who just wants a arcadey racing game that's more closer to Mario Kart than this game, that doesn't really matter one bit to me. I couldn't care less. Like, if this entire track was taking place on the planet Tatooine and I was driving pod racers instead of cars, I really couldn't care less. Whatever feels more fun would win.
Great work. Another step closer to the Super Series.
She's really got a one-track mind.
Yeah, sorry, skip the audio. Not that it matters, the audio is never anything important. And at the end of any race, you see no less than like
Great news.
3
You've been invited to compete in both the Sedanza Global Legends and the Monster Energy All-Star Showdown. That means you're only a few races away from qualifying for the Super Series.
You know what's amazing? How your chief mechanic keeps your cars in great condition race after race without even a word of thanks.
Oh, Jack. I didn't know you felt that way.
So we've got this race, and this race left on this. And we can kind of start to see what's left in the game. There's a good handful in this race, and a good handful of races in this race. And then we'll finally, and then when we unlock that, we'll know all that happens there. And then the head-to-heads one just has the speed run, which we'll try. And if we could actually get a bronze on that, that would be nice. It would be a nice little alternating turn of events. But I wanted to talk about the menu. So, hitting B here quits. This is the third click that you have to click in the game. And honestly, it should just have new game and continue here instead of as the first thing. It should be continues, then new game. That way the very first button, you without even having to move up and down, would be continue. And that should just continue anywhere. But if you're doing the DiRT tour, you get to this, then you have this screen. And this part in particular could be compressed into just one thing. From here, it should be showing me what the race is and what I'm going to do. And so it should just say Speedrun 5 from a screen ago, but it also should give me this entire description from 2 screens ago. That should all of this could have been easily squeezed into one screen. And it should have car selection as your default car is this. Press the Y button to change car.
You raced a clean line last race. Didn't need to fix much on the car.
I didn't mean to start a race here, but so I'm gonna have to pause. But easily those 3 screens, which sometimes get as many as 4 or 5 screens, could all be merged into this screen. Easily. Because all you need to add to this screen is the description that we saw before, and a button that says press Y to select your car, or select car right here in the options, because there's plenty of options that could have been put here. And then there should be a button that says skip change race, and when you change the race, if you can then go back to a map area that just tells you which race to pick. But that shouldn't be the first thing you see. It's bad flow. It's really bad workflow. It wastes a lot of your time, and I'm kind of wasting your time now. So that's going to be it for this recording. This was the race we were going to do next anyways. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.